Hello class and welcome to this Donkey Kong walkthrough right here on Video Games 101 by way of Let's Play with Briggins. I'm your instructor, Professor Briggins, and talk about the father of so many games. Fluff is going to talk about how influential this game is. It's kind of mind-boggling. Words really don't do it justice. We have a number of tips which will help you get through this game, multiple loops of this game without losing a life, maybe not getting you to King of Kong status, but nonetheless, in terms of difficulty, this game gets progressively more difficult with each loop you do. Every time you beat the game, it gets a little bit harder. Incidentally, games A and B, they start you out on the first loop or the second loop, respectively, so if you want a quicker challenge as if you just beat the game the first time, you can go straight to loop B, where everything's a little bit faster and a bit less predictable, I guess. The main thing is the speed adjustment, which makes the game obviously much more difficult. But this is an all-time example of a easy to pick up, difficult to master game. But if the goal is simply to beat the first loop, to beat the game, then I'm going to go ahead and give Donkey Kong a 3 out of 10. On the frustration scale, this equates to omitting a 4-letter swear word. Maybe you were holding the hammer and you got killed and you say out loud, how the blank did that happen? Didn't know that was a thing, but yeah, don't worry. We got some tips to help you out, to survive, get through a few loops without losing a life. Fluff obviously had some interesting facts about this game he's going to share with us. You knew that was coming. So let's run the intro and get into this Donkey Kong walkthrough right here on Video Games 101. Playing this as part of the Donkey Kong Classics collection. Also have our class on Donkey Kong Jr. Link will be in the playlist in the description, but as we start a new game, as I said, Game Mode A is just the base difficulty right there. If you want to jump ahead, use B as we take a look at the controls for Donkey Kong. Pretty straightforward, can't get more straightforward actually. D-pad to move around, climb, and then A to jump. Take a look at the Briggs notes now for Donkey Kong, for the NES in this case. Pretty much just don't worry about the points. I say that as we're taking out barrels with the hammer, but don't worry about the bonus. Timing is everything in this game, and just follow this guide. Wait for that hammer to wear out and disappear. Blaze has information on how long that lasts in just a moment, but let's get through this first loop first. Pick this up to take down the barrels. It's just part of the game, right? You gotta experience this the first time. You can't climb ladders while you're holding this. But generally this first loop, you don't have to worry too much about two barrels being close to one another. You can easily jump over them like so. Just climb the non-broken ladders to get up to Pauline at the top. Mario can withstand a very small drop in this game. Grab some more points with the umbrella there. So make sure that whatever platform you're jumping to, especially in the case of moving platforms like this screen right here, you're not jumping too high above your target, as he'll just break his shins on the way down and just end. Pretty generous window with the springs right here with the timing. You can afford to take chances like we're showing here. And then this is one of the most difficult spots of this entire game, just getting the timing right. Again, the first time, not too difficult. There's a slight difference in the spacing of the springs. You want to find the largest space, especially in the later playthroughs, as we'll show. But let's bring in Gary for the one and only boss of Donkey Kong. It's a legend. Gary?
It's Scary Gary's Boss Beaters.
Alright, it's an honor to tell you how to take down one of the most famous bosses in video game history, even though you probably don't need it. Walk over all the switches to make the floor drop out from underneath Donkey Kong. You want to obviously focus on the switches which are farther away from enemies. Hit those, let the enemies come over to you, and then go to those newly unattended switches, and that's how you'll take down Donkey Kong. Just like that, you are the King of Kong.
Good look, Gary. Thank you very much. Time for the second loop. If we had done mode B, then we jump right to this one where enemies are a bit more erratic. They're a little faster. Everything's a little bit faster. More challenging in general. Good rule of thumb, obviously, is to keep as much distance between yourself and where the barrels might be in general. Don't start climbing until you know that that barrel has, like in that case, gone down that earlier ladder, so we have a nice gap to work with right there. So let's pay closer attention to the spacing of the springs this run through. You'll find that some of these favor a bit more left, some a bit more right, and that affects kind of how far they go off onto the right when they're waterfalling down the side there. But the key to this is we want to move when we get one of those more left-leaning springs so that it clears our head sooner so we can start moving sooner as it's still falling off of the screen. So it gives us just that split second more time to work with. Let's grab this bag and then come back and we'll slow it down when we get to the ladder and you'll see. So this one should be the rightmost leaning one. See right there, it comes very close to giving us a haircut. The one right after that is the one we want to move on because it's favoring more to the left, so we can start moving to the left a bit more quickly so that we have more time to get to the top of that ladder before the next one comes in that sequence. If you try moving on the right one as soon as it clears you, you won't have enough time and you will most likely get killed, especially as the game gets a little bit faster. But anyway, Gary showed us how to take down DK. Let's get an overview of the items we're picking up now with Blaze.
Alright, not a lot of items to cover in Donkey Kong, but mostly the points. You got the bag, you got the umbrella, each worth 800 points. But we also have the hammer in that first stage. This gives you a weapon for about 14 seconds, but note this is not invincibility. You're still vulnerable from your back, and if they get in just the right window in between the top and to the left or right, whichever way you're facing, you can still get hit and die. But each kill you earn with that hammer will earn you 500 points, so there you go, the hammer and the weapons of Donkey Kong.
Good luck, thank you very much, Blaze. And now while we go through one final loop here, let's bring in Fluff for some interesting Fluff facts about Donkey Kong. Fluff?
Talk about firsts. After helping create art for the 1979 Nintendo arcade game Sheriff, Donkey Kong was the first project assigned to video game icon Shigeru Miyamoto. Drawing on inspiration from King Kong, Beauty and the Beast, and Popeye the Sailor Man, he developed the characters and concept with chief designer Gunpei Yokoi. Donkey Kong was the first video game to feature jumping and was the first truly successful platformer which popularized the genre. Donkey Kong was the debut of obviously Donkey Kong, but also Mario, one of the world's most popular characters and recognized characters, as much as that pains me to say. We also have this game to thank for pioneering the damsel in distress theme, or, as we call it around these parts, the Rescue the Princess trope. While the rest of Nintendo was unsure about the game upon its release in the summer of 1981, it went on to become a huge success and the highest grossing game of both 1981 and 1982. The game was ported to the Famicom and NES a few years later, and it was instrumental in helping to sell those systems based on the reputation of this game alone. Very famously, Donkey Kong is also the subject of the 2007 documentary The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, which showed the out-of-work engineer Steve Weeb's attempts to break the evil hot sauce magnate Billy Mitchell's supposed Donkey Kong world record.
Yeah, we referenced that one in opening a couple times actually, but there you go, just a few more actuators, if you will, to hit. Going with the guts term. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing. We do one of these classes every single week in the same spot. We'd love to have you enrolled. Click that like button and leave a comment if you don't mind as well. It really does help us out. And we'll see you next week in the same spot for next week's class right here on Video Games 101. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and comment on this video and click subscribe if you haven't already, as this seriously helps me to keep making great content for you. And check the description of this video to see what song is playing right now.